So I have a box, and in the box is a fan. I've looked at a ton of fans. I have bought 2 or 3, and I chose this one. Now, the 2 or 3 that I bought all had flat blades. I like curves. This one has curves. And it's just 150 bucks for the fan. It's got all the fancy features. I only wanted 3 blades. Didn't need a 5, didn't need a 6, didn't need a 7, didn't need a 4. I wanted a 3 because it kind of looks like a propeller from a plane. So inside the box, we will find instructions. I may or may not read those. Cardboard. More cardboard. The blades I was talking about. You can see the curve to them. It's very nice. They're plastic. They're not your, what do you call it? The cardboard, pressed cardboard stuff. Here's a light. Now, the part I don't like is that it came with neon bulbs, weights, the neck hardware. There's nothing else attached to that. Good. Throw it away. So that's the motor. That's the decorator piece. That is the piece that mounts to the ceiling. See, here's the neon bulbs I was telling you about. I don't really care for them. I'm going to use them for this install, but they're likely going to be replaced with LEDs. The light that I did get before this one had LED lights. And then here's your remote setup. So fancy, fancy. Hey guys, so we're going to do the removal of said light. Now upon removal, I'm going to need an alternate light source, which I recommend if you are changing your fan. So my alternate light source is in front of me, and we are going to remove the light to install the fan. These are LED bulbs, and they are hot. Make sure you let them cool down before you attempt to do what I'm doing. And here you can see is a great example of bleeding, what I call it. Like batteries, when they're still connected to, for example, your impact or your charger or any other kind of tool impact, like an impact driver or drill, they bleed still into the component. I didn't get this with my older set, like the NiCad style, the older DeWalt set, but with the new DeWalt set, my batteries bleed. And this is an example of bleeding. So there's always power, even a little bit, there's always power running. So right now, I am just undoing the screws for the lamp. As you can hear, it is starting to get looser. You just turn it. A lot of builders' quality lamps are like this. You get that little bit of insulation at the top, things like that. Now, as I drop this down, you're going to notice that this is taped. I always do that for, it just gives you that little bit more security, and it seals everything up nice and neat. That way these things don't accidentally fall off when you're reinstalling it, cause a short, or in the future fall off because you had some loud music or some vibrations, or if you have people up above you from vibrations of them walking around over time. These morettes, and or what I like to call them wire nuts, will get loose and could fall off, cause a short. So just tape your stuff up. I do it with light switches and outlets. That way when you're putting it back, it doesn't just touch the side of the wall, ground out, or cause any issues later on in the future. So all we have to do is remove all this stuff, and then we can start. Now, always turn off your breakers. so that you have no power running to your light. Easiest way to test that is turn the light on, go to your breaker, hit the switch, come back, lights off, you're done. There are testers and all sorts of other things you can use. Just go shut off the breaker and make sure the light doesn't come back on. So as you can see, the light is now removed. I'm going to cap off the electrical wires. And that just makes them easier to work with. That way you're not being stuck with a sharp electrical wire when you're maneuvering them about. There we go. And then always check your wires, make sure there's no breaks in the lines, no, the insulation's all good. You don't want to see any bare wires. If you do, have somebody come in and replace it, you know, stuff like that. And if you do see anything that you see questionable, always have a licensed electrician come in and take a serious look. Here, you won't find anything crazy, but if you did find something crazy, when you open something up like a can of worms, like I say, always have a professional come and sort it out. So here is a very common issue. This is a close-up of your typical electrical box. Now, when the builder finishes a home or is working in the home, they don't care about making things secure. They just want to slap it in there, get it up, and done. Evidently, as you can see, I can move the electrical box around. There's only one nail holding this, and it should be okay. So this is has a bracket right about here that's screwed and nailed into, and/or typically nailed by the electrician, and it's only to hold a light, which is done very well. But I want to put a fan on that, so I'm going to run two screws into it, onto this side, this way. Typically, if I was working on someone else's house, I would go up into the attic, or I would take the electrical box out, put a piece of wood from the two joists to secure it, then put the electrical box back and screw into that, so it's going to be screwed from both sides and it will never move. You could hang off of it. Heck, you and your wife or girlfriend could hang off of it and it would never come down. But since this is just me, I'm just going to throw a couple extra screws in it and get going. So now the box is secure. It's got two screws into it, and we can start the assembly of the fan. Now we're going to install the bracket that will hold the fan to the ceiling. So now we have the mounting bracket installed. It is time to set the fan up with the flush mount. Now there's 3 different ways you can have this installed. I'm going with the flush mount or the close mount because I like having my ceilings open. I tend to move things around in my room. I don't want to knock my fan. If you have anything higher than 8 feet, it is recommended that you use the drop down arm, or if it's being mounted on an angle, anything around 10% slope, it is recommended to use the drop down arm that it comes with. If you have a bigger slope in your ceiling, say you have vaulted ceilings, you can get longer arms to drop the fan down to provide the mounting surface for that angle. But for our installation, we just remove the cover of the mounting disc and away we go. So I'm going to mount this to the motor of the fan, and just another reminder, make sure your power is off, because when you hook up all these wires and power is on, that fan could start moving. You don't want that to happen. It's not fun. So I've installed the canopy onto the fan, which I will show you in a moment. I have the remote box to install, which is usually the most, well, it's the most complicated part because you have to fit this into this tiny box. So I just installed the canopy onto the fan. I will show that in a moment. Now there's 3 different mounting applications. You have your close mount, which is what we're doing. Right now, we're going to install the remote box into that outlet, which is always very cumbersome. It is the most difficult part of this installation. So the remote is now installed into this small little area. Give yourself lots of time, take your time, like I'm just saying time. Patience is a virtue in this particular arrangement. It's very tight. Now, like I said, I was going to show you the installation of the canopy onto the fan itself. And what I've done is I removed the 3 screws there after removing the mounting plate so that I can install this flush to the ceiling. Now you got a lot of wire. All this wire you should keep and then install it all coiled up into this outlet, or sorry, this outlet box. Now what you should do is make your connections first. Typically, you hang the motor from the device, the mounting bracket, and then you make your terminations. And after that, you put them nice and neatly into the outlet box. There's a fall wire, which this fan does not have. That fall wire stops the fan from obviously falling. I usually use them to hold the fan while I'm installing it. And there's a little hook right here that fall wire will hold on to. It's just something simple, but it gives you the ability to deal with all of this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hook the fan on, and I'm going to have it hanging while I make all the terminations. And once all those terminations are complete, taped, and ready to be installed, I'm going to neatly push them past the remote box into the outlet or the light box. At that point, I can be able to install the fan. It'll sit like this. You can hang your light as so, and now you can install it. You don't need a helper. You don't need that ball wire that I was talking about. And away we go. Have your wires running in the direction where you want them to be fed once the installation is complete. Now, typically, you want your wires to be fed up straight through into the center of the mounting bracket. In this specific installation, it doesn't matter if I was running a rod to come all the way down from the ceiling. You want to run those wires through that rod, through the center of the mounting bracket, and into the light box. And sometimes it's good to mock it up to see how it's going to run, to take a look, and all the wires are hanging down. They're ready to be nice and neatly fed back up into the box. And I'm going to feed them into a circular motion so that they'll be all nice and nested into the light box. At which point, I will then take the fan and install it into position. After that, I will put the locking screws into place, and we will begin with the blades installation. So I decided to increase the brightness of my light. A little easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. I can't zoom in, but this is just installing the fan blades like I was saying. These are the curved ones. Better than your typical cardboard pressed whatever, pressed cardboard, glue together shenanigans. So as you can see, curves. And what man doesn't like curves? I know, it's a bad line. I've been dying to say it, honestly. I've been dying to say it. So, this is fairly typical. They'll tell you which side is up. I took off those stickers. And you just go and install . Now, I recommend doing this by hand. My driver has a specific torque setting, so I can do this without having to worry. There we go. Just drop a screw. So when I was talking about my torque setting, I just wanted to show you. Probably could do this a little easier somewhere else, but whatever. Right here, that's full, that's second, and that's what I'm using. It's just for hand tight, for doing cabinetry work. So that way you can install your fans, don't have to worry about stripping out the screws. Again, if you're nervous, you don't have the same driver as me, or a driver that does this with the torque specs, just do it by hand. I have a bright idea. Let's install the light. I know, bad joke. I apologize. So this was legitimately the hardest part of installing the fan, just to get that, because it's so close, to get those wires out of the way of everything, and then to try to get everything into position was literally the hardest part. Now we install the lights and the omnidirectional and the diffuser, so just a nice glow. So the ceiling fan is now complete. I spent a little bit more time trying to get the diffuser onto the LED lights that were a little bit too big, like size-wise, to accommodate the tight space. But as anything else, a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, a little bit of elbow grease, it fits. The reverse switch is on top of the fan, so like in wintertime you want to pull the air up to mix with the warmer air, and summertime you want to flip the switch back to push the air down to go in the opposite direction. Now we're going to test this out. So for a light works, so it's either on or off. There's no dim, so I can change those lights out to a standard LED light. And let's try the fan out. I'm gonna get out of the way. Here's your low speed. Very nice. I'm gonna try the minimum speed. Medium speed is good. And let's try ludicrous speed. You can start to hear a bit of fan noise now. Ludicrous speed enabled. Crazy. So let's turn that off. There's a lot of wind that comes off this thing. Wow. There's our light. So as I said, the light is not dimmable, which I don't like. Everything else about it, I enjoy. There. So, thank you for watching. And I'm going to see what I can do about this light being dimmable and not dimmable. Let me know what projects you wanted me to do in the future, if any.